Hello and welcome to This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. On this week's presentation, we take a look at the activities of Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa for week ending September 9. We see that Minister Mustafa has been around and about advancing the interests of agriculture. He met with the outgoing ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to Guyana, Sarah Ann Lynch. They had some good conversation. He also was at several presentations happening across the country. There was the training of extension officers at the Guyana School of Agriculture. And later on, he and his team engaged in an outreach to Cane Grove, where a number of issues were raised by farmers. The minister has promised to have a team revisit those communities, that particular community of Cane Grove, Mahika, on Wednesday of this week, and they will be engaging in exercises aimed at resolving the issues that were raised by farmers and residents of that community. We will also hear about the top performers of Region 5 at the recently held NGSA and CSEC examinations. The PPPC has, over the past 10 years, been providing gifts and awards and so on to all the top performers of Region 5, and they plan to continue doing so. Now, the challenge has been to the organizers of the party in all the regions across the country to emulate this prize-giving and award ceremony in their particular region. So Region 6, 5, well, 5 already has theirs, but 1 to 10, except Region 5, you want to start hosting similar events. So we'll have all that and more on this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture.
Farmers and the members of the public in general are being advised that tampering with drainage and irrigation structures in any way is prohibited under the Drainage and Irrigation Act. So too are practices that result in damage to access dams, such as using an inadequate length of tube to irrigate farmlands, resulting in erosion of the earthen dams. Also contrary to the Drainage and Irrigation Act is the practice of erecting structures or planting on government reserves. This will not be condoned. These reserves are to be clear at all times to provide access for the excavation of the channels. Livestock farmers should also be aware that they are liable for any damages caused by their cattle or swine to dams or reserves alongside D&I channels, as is the case when the animals cross these channels. Individuals wishing to erect bridges across D&I structures should first contact the NDIA before doing so. Those found guilty under the Act are liable to fines and imprisonment for up to 3 months. A message from the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, Ministry of Agriculture.
The Ministry of Agriculture is advising farmers and others in possession of leases for state lands that under the laws governing leasing of state lands, no person who leases land from government is allowed to sublet those lands to a third party unless written permission is sought and given to the leasee for this to take place. Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa has noted that this is happening in the MMA scheme, with overseas-based holders of land leases charging farmers who rent from them as much as $30,000 an acre, and by extension driving up the cost of production. The Ministry of Agriculture is therefore requesting all farmers interested in accessing lands to do so through the MMA ADA and pay just $3,600 per acre for both land rental and D&I rates. In the meantime, the board of the MMA ADA is now doing an audit of lands leased to overseas-based persons with a view to reassigning those lands if the owners are found to be exploiting small farmers of Region 5. Through the 2023 budget allocations to the MMA, it is anticipated that approximately 20,000 acres of lands will become available to farmers by the second half of this year. A message from the Ministry of Agriculture.
Here's an important notice.
Do you know that it is illegal to import, store, distribute, sell, and purchase antibiotics without a license or prescription, as the case may be? According to the Antibiotic Act of 1952, owners of livestock and other animals are not permitted to purchase and use antibiotics unless prescribed by a veterinarian. It should be noted that the misuse of antibiotics could result in the development of resistance to the very antibiotic, which in turn will pose health risks to the animal and to humans. The GLDA advises that farmers should not administer antibiotics to animals unless prescribed by a veterinarian. Non-compliance with this act will result in fines and imprisonment. A message from the Guyana Livestock Development Authority, Ministry of Agriculture. We begin this week's presentation by telling you about a farewell visit by outgoing U.S. Ambassador to Guyana, Miss Sarah Ann Lynch, to the office of Guyana's Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa Wednesday. During their engagement, the two officials discussed the partnerships that were developed to promote and expand Guyana's agriculture sector during the outgoing ambassador's tenure, as well as steps taken to address and resolve several sectoral issues. Minister Mustafa thanked the outgoing U.S. official for the work that was done to foster closer relations between Guyana and the United States, as the fostering of closer ties between the private sector, together with the fostering of closer ties between the private sectors of both countries. The outgoing ambassador's role in assisting with restoring democracy following the March 2020 general elections was also mentioned as a source of significant gratitude from the government and people of Guyana. Ambassador Lynch also expressed satisfaction at the progress the two countries achieved working together, especially in dealing with critical issues as it relates to agriculture development in Guyana and CARICOM. On Thursday last, Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa, along with officials of his ministry, toured the entrepreneurial project AIEP at Monrepo on the east coast of Demerara. The AIEP, or Shade House Project, is the brainchild of President Dr. Irfaan Ali and was conceptualized to encourage youth involvement and entrepreneurship in agriculture. During his tour of the project, that to date boasts 54 shade houses, the Agriculture Minister took the opportunity to interact with the latest batch of University of Guyana students participating in internship programs and practical activities as part of their academic pursuits in agriculture.
So we can have all the natural resources in the world and all the revenue coming in from that, but we can't eat the money. We have to plant it, right? So as it stands now, how much food we producing, as a UG student? So we're producing 60% of the food that we are consuming, right? So besides the 60% what we are consuming, we add to that all these things. 2021 we imported $2.6 billion in these crops for the hospitality industry and other places. $2.6 billion. So there's a ready market in Guyana for about $3 billion Guyana dollars for the product like this, produce like this, right? Then every year we importing $60 million in corn and soya. We are working in another 2 years from now by 2025 to be self-sufficient, to produce all our corn and soya needs, so that we can produce the feed for the livestock industry. So that means we'll save, if we can produce that, we'll save $60 million that can go to another program. Besides, when we produce our own feed, meat, cost for meat will reduce. See the chain effect what it has, right? Then, so those are the things we all have to ensure that we work. So one section will support the other section. So you got the crop sector, we're talking about growing corn and soya, but then we need it in the livestock industry. We need to produce the proteins, the food for the livestock. Now we are buying it at a high cost. We are buying it from overseas, not in the region, not in CARICOM, but overseas. So we want to reduce. That is why when we're talking about reducing the food import bill by 25%, in 2025, we mean we must reduce it, all the things that we are importing. Corn and soya, we're importing in places like St. Kitts, St. Lucia now importing all their meat from North America. they must import it from CARICOM country. So we're taking out all the non-tariff barriers and all the barriers that affect trade between these countries. So you must just lecture to these people, the young people. Not only show them how to do farming and so tell them what they are some of the policies. Exactly. Bring the people and tell them what we're doing in CARICOM. Because Guyana now is the main focus. I can tell you. Every Caribbean country now are looking forward to Guyana.
The AIEP Shade House project at Mon Repos is currently harvesting large quantities of cauliflower, bell peppers, celery, and mint, all of which are being sold to high-end hotels and restaurants in the city. Just adjacent to the Shade House project at Mon Repos is an Israeli investment in what would be a state-of-the-art hydroponic farm for the cultivation of specialty crops for export. The Agriculture Minister also toured this facility and gave an update on the project and what is intended.
This project that is going on here is the SEAL project from Israel, and this came about since the last Agri-Investment Expo we would have had last year. This was one of the companies that indicated that they will come and invest in this country. We are here today at the site, and I'm hoping that, according to the manager here, he said by mid-October they should have plants in this 2,000 square meter, and here will be a lot of hydroponics techniques will be used here to produce leafy vegetables, which they will export out of Guyana in the Caribbean and North America mostly. So you could see now that when we're talking about agriculture from Guyana, and that we will make a difference to ensure that we reduce the food import bill of CARICOM. This is one of the ways that we are doing it. The Shade House, we have heard a number of areas that they have been selling their produce to, places like the Marriott, places like the supermarkets, and it's in demand. So I'm hoping that we can expand like these and other farmers across the country. Hopefully in another few months I will start some of these projects in the various parts of the country where a number of other young people will be involved, and this will come under the same president project that we talked about. So I'm happy to note that these infrastructure that we are putting up will make a big difference for us in the agriculture sector.
With an estimated investment of $15 million, the Israeli project will involve the three-phase hydroponic production system based on nutrient film techniques and soilless production systems. These systems are being designed for the production of fresh herbs, lettuce, and other leafy vegetables, as well as other high-value crops. The first phase of the project will see the company setting up a 2,000 square meter state-of-the-art system, which will include a cold room, packaging facility, harvesting equipment, irrigation controllers, fertilizer mixers, water recycling systems, and emergency water storage, etc. On Saturday, the Agriculture Minister traveled to Dundee Maikoni for the 10th annual awards ceremony, through which the PPPC honors top CSEC and NGSA performers in Region 5. 35 youths who excelled received trophies, laptops, school supplies, and gifts during the event. In delivering the feature address, Agriculture Minister Mustafa, who also wears the cap as the party's executive secretary, noted that the annual awards ceremony was a treasured occasion and an initiative that provides the party an opportunity to reflect on the academic achievements of students in the community and the region as a whole.
Let me begin by extending heartiest congratulations to you on your academic achievements in the recently concluded examination. Thank you for giving me this chance once again to share this important moment with you. And I hope that this is the beginning or the stepping stone for your future endeavors. You are here today because you have exhibited such qualities that will not only help you achieving your goal, but also bring the glory of success to your families and our country. This yearly award ceremony is a treasure occasion, an initiative as it provides the party, our party, the People's Progressive Party, with an opportunity to reflect on the academic achievements of the students in the community and region, and address the whole community. Through this ceremony this afternoon, we can publicly celebrate this success achieved through the hard work and perseverance of both our students as well as their teacher and parents. As a government, we consider our children, or we consider the children of our country the future. And we strongly believe that exposure and opportunity in attaining a sound education is important and crucial for the development of our country. Education are essential in providing a crucial role in our students having a bright future. And today, when our country is transforming rapidly, only this morning, we have heard His Excellency the President quoted excerpt from the half year's report of the Ministry of Finance, and we heard just now that Mr. Paul Chung would have alluded to it, that our country is the fastest growing, we have the fastest growing economy. Well, this morning it proved that the first half of this year, our economy grew by 59.5%. And when you talk about this massive growth, and when you talk about this massive development taking place, everyone, or the critics out there, the naysayers and the doomsayers, always relate that to the oil and gas sector. That because of oil and gas, our economy is growing. But I want to tell you too, when you take out the non-oil growth, and basically coming from the agriculture sector, that's the productive sector, many countries around the world are finding it very hard to achieve 5-6% growth. And they have large economies. They have large investment in these areas. And when you minus the non-oil performance that the President would have mentioned this morning in his press conference, the non-oil sector grew by 12.3% in our country. And those are positive things for us. For the students, they may not comprehend all what I'm saying, but you as parents, teachers, and people who are dealing in society will know that this means a lot for our country. This means that our government is managing the economy in a prudent manner. A manner is where we are seeing growth in every sector, where we are seeing development in all the sectors, where we are seeing massive transformation that are taking place in the various sectors outside of the oil and gas sector. Because, you know, many times when, and almost on a weekly basis, when our Vice President normally hosts his weekly press conferences, the next day you see all kinds of excuses here, the economy grew because of oil and gas. But I am quoting today the non-oil and gas that come from agriculture, construction, manufacturing, all those sectors would have grown by 12.3% this year. And I am very optimistic that by the end of this year, our economy will transform and grow rapidly. I want to tell you because this region is an agriculture-based region, and already we are seeing a lot of opportunities being made available by the government. And for us to continue that, for us to continue in that trajectory that we have started out, firstly, the first period from 1992 to 2015, and then from 2020, presently, we are having large growth. We are seeing development in all the sectors. And for us to maintain that, it is students like these awardees here this afternoon who will be responsible for the continuous growth and development of our country. It is against this background that our government is so committed to enhancing our educational sector, even more than in the previous year. And when you look at what we have been doing in the education sector, it's massive. To date, if I could just quote some figure I have here, to date, our government have expanded approximately, we have expended close to about $3 billion on textbooks. As such, by the end of this year, all primary and secondary school students will have access to a minimum of 4 textbooks per student due to the investment in the education sector. A total of 87,634 students are benefiting from the school feeding program that we have started out. And 29,691 students are benefiting from the hot meals that we have started out during the course of the day. And 15,208 students are benefiting from the breakfast that the Ministry of Education would have started. Those are tremendous investment that we are making in the education sector.
The award ceremony was attended by parents and relatives of the outstanding students, representatives of the private sector, and others who play critical supporting roles in the overall success of the program enjoyed over the last 10 years. Later on Saturday, the Agriculture Minister took his team to Cane Grove, Mahaica for an interactive session with farmers and residents of that area. The highlights of that meeting included claims of fraud against the former executives of the Water Users Association there, claims that the head of a farmers group uses the minister's name to extort money from farmers. 2 issues that were immediately dealt with by the minister: instructions to call in the police in the first instance, and for elections to be held immediately for the farmers group to facilitate the removal of the current chairman, a man most in the meeting described as being corrupt and disruptive to the harmony of the community. Other issues raised by residents included the clearing of 23 drainage channels, upgrades existing dams, etc. Addressing residents after the issues were raised, the Agriculture Minister called on the community to not allow individuals and resolvable issues to cause animosity and disharmony within the communities, as it is only through a united front can there be real progress.
You all get too much a problem in interpersonal relations, and we have to work together. If you want this community to move, you have to cooperate. And when every time you come to Cane Grove, you get this man to fight this man, that man to fight that man to collect money from this man. It can't work like that. Right? No, we got to change the culture. We got to change the culture. Now here, agriculture is one of the main activities we are focused on. If you listen today at the President's press conference, he talked about the growth that we had over the last 6 months. From January to June, the country would have grown by almost 55%. And when you talk about growth, they must say all the growth coming from the oil industry, not the oil alone. The non-oil, we had almost 13% growth. And that shows that agriculture is contributing to that mostly. Only out of that, you get forestry and you get the construction sector. Now, that means that the investment that we have been making over time, that means that we are seeing the results. A lot of allocation, budgetary allocation, we are making in the agriculture sector because we want Guyana to be food secure. But if you all now work together to get benefit from these things, you all wouldn't enjoy what the government is giving. That is why it's important that I will ask all our senior officers to work along with you all. And you have to unite, man. You can't come and say half of the community unite, half disunite, and we get in this problem. If you got a cash crop core in the area, you got 600 persons doing cash crop, let us meet with all the cash crop farmers. Let us see what are the issues. Let us see how we can help them. If we get livestock farmers, just now you raise the issue, I am saying how we can help you out. We can help you with AI, artificial insemination. We can help you with better breeding animal, not only cow, cattle. We get all these sheep, black belly sheep. We got these other sheep coming. We got swine. We can assist each swine farmer in Cane Grove. I can make a commitment today that I can give them a pair of swine to start out or increase their flock, right? We can work along with other small ruminants farmers to help them to develop their flock. Likewise, we are working with the cattle farmers. The cash crop farmers, we can work with you all to give you all better planting material to see how we can get cheaper access to chemical and agriculture input so that we can work together. We can also look to see how we can get market for your produce with better prices. These are things that the Ministry of Agriculture, the government of Guyana, we are extending to the agriculture sector. And you all have to make full use of these things. Sometimes, or every time I come into Cane Grove, you're getting a lot of interpersonal issues. We have to move away. The comrade said there's not a culture. So that culture got to move. We have to change that culture, brother. Let me tell you what happened. Right now, what we are trying to achieve in Guyana. Over the century, we were planting rice, cash crop, fruits and vegetables, include that cash crop, and sugar. We are still do that as a country. We still plant rice, we still plant fruits and vegetables, we still plant sugar cane, we still aware our animals, the livestock industry. But if you see today, we're doing it in a different way. We are trying to expand on the traditional crops, but at the same time we're bringing out new things. In 2 years from now, Guyana will produce all the corn and soya. Every year, we import $60 million US. The whole Takama Savannah now. The whole Takama Savannah is in corn and soya.
The Ministry of Agriculture is advising farmers and others in possession of leases for state lands that under the laws governing leasing of state lands, no person who leases land from government is allowed to sublet those lands to a third party unless written permission is sought and given to the leasee for this to take place. Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa has noted that this is happening in the MMA scheme, with overseas-based holders of land leases charging farmers who rent from them as much as $30,000 an acre, and by extension driving up the cost of production. The Ministry of Agriculture is therefore requesting all farmers interested in accessing lands to do so through the MMA ADA and pay just $3,600 per acre for both land rental and DNI rates. In the meantime, the board of the MMA ADA is now doing an audit of lands leased to overseas-based persons with a view to reassigning those lands if the owners are found to be exploiting small farmers of Region 5. Through the 2023 budget allocations to the MMA, it is anticipated that approximately 20,000 acres of lands will become available to farmers by the second half of this year. A message from the Ministry of Agriculture.
That's all the time we have on this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. On behalf of the entire production team, I want to wish you all the best for the week ahead. You want to be as productive as you can be. If you're a farmer, engage in the proper recommended agronomic practices so that you will enjoy that bountiful harvest every time. Until next time then, I'm Christopher Holder saying so long. See you around.